Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As you can see by the title of today's video, we're here to ask, was the Myplayer builder system good for NBA 2K22 Next Gen? So I hope you all enjoy the video. We're going to get straight into this. If you do enjoy, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new to the noties, all good stuff, and like always, try 1 to 500 likes. So let's go ahead and start from the base and start from where we begin with the Myplayer builder, which is going to be the height, weight, and wingspan, the body settings. So in my opinion, I think they really did a decent job at balancing the heights in this game. I mean, if you go from bottom to top on the heights, you go from 5'7" all the way up to 7'3". There's a reason to make every single build, and there's a good viability to every single height that you could do. You won't regret anything that you create. Now, there are little crevices in between this where there's maybe competitive advantages. For instance, there's not really a big need for going to 5'7" because you can kind of get the same attributes at 5'9" as long as you go down in the wingspan, etc., stuff like that, right? Whereas also there are maybe crevices in this stuff where you have the 6'3" metric that can get the glitched wingspan with the 6'2" that gets 97 3-pointer. It's really elite. 6'5" is a really nice kind of area for lockdowns where you get elite speed, and once you go higher than that, it starts killing your speed. As you can see, 6'6" drops from 93 to 88 speed, 6'7" drops from 88 to 82, and so on and so forth. You just keep on going down. Whereas if you look at it from the other end of the spectrum and you go down to 6'4" instead of 6'5", you can't even lower your weight, so you're really only gaining one more speed. You're going from 93 speed to 94. If you go down to 6'3", you're once again not gaining any speed by minimizing your weight. And then as you go down to 6'2", you can go ahead and go down to 95 speed at 165 on the weight. So long story short, there's not a lot of big reason to make 6'2", 6'3", and 6'4" unless you're maybe going for certain badges. For instance, at 6'4", you get everything like mismatch expert, whereas at a default 6'5", you don't actually get that. Now, that's where metric system comes into play, and we'll talk about that as well, because there are glitched metric builds. For instance, a 6'4" that can be 6'4" and like 3/4. That pretty much gets everything a 6'5" would be lacking. For instance, mismatch expert as a particular thing to just talk about, and you still have the height of essentially a 6'5" build. It's going to be 6'4" and like 3/4. It's going to be red as 6'5" and go back to Imperial, and I think that's where a lot of people are kind of disgusted when it comes to this metric system. They don't like the fact that there are hidden builds that are extremely better in every situation, really, than the default one at that listed height. So for instance, let's talk about the other one. There's a 6'7" glitch metric build that gets 88 speed. It gets elite steal, perimeter defense, all types of stuff like that. Obviously we have it at minimum wingspan right now, but either way, it's a much better build than the default 6'7", and again, for the main reason of speed being that, especially. Now, there's another one extremely particularly that we should talk about, which is the 6'9" glitch metric. Now, I want you to take a look if you're new to the game or anything like that, or you're maybe not aware of how the metric system works. This is a look at a default 6'9". You have 78 speed, 76 acceleration, you only have 82 steal, mind you, this is maxed wingspan as well, and you only have 86 perimeter defense. Now, take a look at everything, even look at driving dunk, it's 89. Now, let's go and look over at the glitched metric 6'9" build that completely took over this game. Sorry that the stuff's looking really weird with the camera. Sometimes it just happens, but anyway, as you can see, 6'9", 190 on the weight, 7'7". It's literally nearly exactly what you were looking at before, but now as you can see, 90 perimeter defense, 90 steal, 98 driving dunk. You have even better speed with ball handle. The speed is now 79 as well. I mean, it's just an upgrade in every aspect, and as you can see, rebounding as well. The rebounding on the other one, I believe, was even below 91. It might have even been like 86 if I had to guess. I don't really know off the top of my head exactly what a default 6'9" is, but I believe it's around that. And the glitch 6'9" is not only faster, not only better at driving dunk, not only better at literally everything, it's even still better at rebounding when it's slightly shorter than a default 6'9" should even be. So let's backtrack a little bit, come back to the title of the video. Was the build system good for NBA 2K22 Next Gen? In my opinion, I actually did like the build system quite a bit. I think it welcomed a lot of people who are big on variety. They like to be able to shoot the ball, dunk, be able to dribble, and play defense, and you can even still rebound. You could make builds like that. The 6'9" glitch metric and the 6'7" glitch metric were definitely two of those types of builds that you can just be a do-it-all type player. Now, you could even still be an elite point guard and just sacrificing a lot of defensive attributes or into your defense, block, rebounding, stuff like that. Not even have elite dunking. You could be an outside point guard, be one of these 5'10s right here, and dominate the game as well. You could also be a 7'3" center and just completely dominate the game as well. 7'2" glitch metric to, mention some names as well. But you could still be an inside and outside. It doesn't really matter as long as you're playing Pro-Am. I think for the sake of 3v3, it didn't really welcome a lot of variety. I think insides kind of are dead in that aspect. 2v2, it's all good. You can definitely be an inside. But regardless, I don't know if a lot of people even care about Park for that matter, but there are even still decent builds at different heights as well. 7 foot is a really good threshold to hit. 6'10s are really nice as well. They get driving contact dunks while still getting standing contact dunks as well. And you can still be a decent dribbler on it. You can still do pick and pop action. You can do all types of stuff. It's a really cool, versatile build for Park. For Pro-Am, it's maybe more of a power forward build, and it's not exactly the most welcomed in the meta and stuff like that. So now let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about meta specifically and what fits 5s the best. And was this build system good for 5s? So, in my opinion, I think it does pretty good at involvement. This game and its build system really welcomed double ball handler lineups. In the past, you maybe saw games like 2K19 where it's literally 1 point guard and then 3 pure locks and a 2-way sharp. It was really boring. I didn't really like stuff like that where it welcomed people constantly bringing the best defending build onto the court, and to be fair, that game's defense was extremely overpowered as well, especially if you were a lockdown. So for that matter, the build system just didn't work well with the game, if you ask me. I think the defense was already good enough on 2K19, and not only that, but the build system just welcomed people making lockdowns. I mean, people being able to splash with 63-pointer welcomed them into a world where you could just run 3 pure locks. The meta essentially was to run 2 pure locks that would guard the wing. You have a pure rim protector that's guarding the centers in the pick and roll defense. Then you have your point guard hidden in one corner and a 2-way sharp hidden in the other corner. And then on offense, that 2-way sharp would sit wing. You have your point guard who is going to try and dominate on the offensive end. And again, defense and fast breaks literally just won the games. There was no such thing as half-court offense in 2K19 until the dribble glitch came out, which kind of, ironically, it's so stupid that I can say this, but it saved the game to an extent because lockdowns were really coming out here just terrorizing it. And you guys know me, I love defense. I love when defense is good in the game, but for Pro-Am, it's kind of tough. And this is why I want to also talk about build system balancing, as far as balancing between 3s and 5s. So for 3v3, you need defense to be elite for it to be a fun game. That's how I feel. I think there's so much spacing and so much area for point guards to work that you need to have good defense for the game to function the right way. I think it's only proper because, again, there's so much space. Guards just ISO. There's not reads to make for a point guard. It's so easy. If you see the corner dropping, boom, dot corner. There's nothing in like complex and just like really second level thinking when it comes to playing point guard on Park. It's so easy to make dots. You can really just control the defense in the perfect easy way, and at the worst case scenario, you can just stick 2 dudes in the corner and just go ISO on the worst defender. It's literally as simple as that. So honestly, that's my perspective. When defense is at that elite level that it makes 3s fun, though, it makes 5s kind of toxic where defense is too good because the court is really crowded, really crammed. You have 5 defenders that can work in unison, and the offense is kind of at the mercy of the defenders. And this game is another really good example of a game that doesn't support tall dribblers. I want to say that very much as well. So when you go past 6'7", I think it really becomes impossible to be an elite dribbler, which is a good thing for the game as well. But we're talking even in the sense of being a ball handler. It is kind of odd that in the era of all the Jokic's and Giannis's and LeBron, KD, Tatum's, all types of stuff like that. Solid ball handlers that are tall wing players, even Brandon Ingram for that matter. And the list goes on and on in this aspect. I mean, you could even say Ben Simmons for that matter. Tall players that can handle the ball and initiate the offense. It really isn't a thing in this game, to be honest with you, at all. And I don't think that's the truth of basketball. Nowadays, I mean, KD's been on podcasts even saying stuff like this as well, that the future of the NBA is tall wing players 2 through 4, all types of stuff like that. Like kind of what the Celtics are doing with Jaylen Brown at the 2, Tatum at the 3, and then they fill in with like 4s that are pretty decent height as well, and they can kind of switch everything. Long story short, I'm getting away from 2K a little bit here, but I just feel like this game does not support tall dribblers at all, and what you see that translate into is that 5-out isn't extremely overpowered in Pro-Am anymore, and even for that matter, not really welcomed. Like, if you come out here and run 5-out with a 6'7" glitch metric, don't get me wrong, you can still dribble decent, but you're gonna get locked. You're gonna get so locked. Like, these wings are gonna be pinching you super tight, and the build system, like I said, you're probably wondering, well, what does this have to do with the build system? Well, again, 6'7" aren't a viable height to even dribble the ball at in that aspect, if you ask me, and be a play initiator. At this point, you kind of have to be 6'4" or below because you have to have stuff like, let's say, mismatch expert, quick chain as well. The 6'7" don't even get quick chain. Unpluckable is only on silver when it comes to the 6'7" as well. And honestly, this 5'10" is literally just the meta of Pro-Am point guard. That's literally it, and it's as simple as that because of the elite 3-point shooting, the elite ball handling, the elite speed, And you don't need to be a balanced scorer in this game either. That's another aspect where driving dunk isn't really valued, and you can get it at such a cheap premium rate for only 75 driving dunk or 65 to get quick drops off one. That package needs to cost more. That's a 100% thing for sure. Quick drops off one needs to be like 85 driving dunk at minimum, as far as like how valued that dunk package is. 2K, do not come back into this game next year with quick drops off one only requiring 65 driving dunk to equip. That's crazy talk. It's the best dunk in the game. It's way too fast, and people get away with not putting a lot of finishing on their build and still are an elite finisher because of how easy it is to achieve that and how good of a budget it really is for your build. All right, so we just talked about obviously the point guard height discrepancy and how tall point forwards aren't welcomed in this game. That is the one thing I will knock it on very, very severely. As far as defense goes, though, I will say you do see the height discrepancy definitely play a factor. I mean, you can definitely play good perimeter defense with a smaller guard, but it's not elite. Honestly, the 6'7" definitely play the most elite perimeter defense I've seen from any build in this game. Debatably, a 6'5" build can also play some really elite perimeter defense due to that speed. You have 93 speed at a decent height of 6'5". But again, the thing that we were just talking about, one thing that 2K does very well, if you ask me, is emulating the defensive aspect of the NBA, where, again, tall wing players, like what the Celtics are doing, and you can run like a Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum at the 2 and the 3, and switch everything between tall, good, lanky defenders. And the 6'7" glitch metric literally is Jaylen Brown. The 6'9" glitch metric literally is Jason Tatum when it comes to the defensive aspect of things. And I think it's so good for the game if you have good defensive builds. When people can make stuff like the 6'7" glitch metric and the stuff like the 6'9" glitch metric, I know some people hate on this stuff right here because it's really bad for the sake of the people who maybe made a build on day one and can't match that level of extremity and just be able to be an elite defender like these builds are. And it's toxic for the community because, again, like I just said, people maybe made their builds day one and they can't make stuff like this anymore. Now they're left in the dust because other people have made better builds than them, and this wasn't discovered until like months into the game. So I do understand your perspective from that, but for me, as someone who can maybe commentate the balance of the game, these builds absolutely helped the balance of this game. It definitely toned down on the point guards just a little bit. Don't be wrong, defense isn't in a perfect aspect on this game, but it definitely toned down the PGs a little bit when tall, extremely long, and versatile defensive builds can come out here and play elite on-ball and hedge defense as well, for that matter, on the 6'9". And the 6'9" can even be an elite like rebounder as well. So as far as backside defender, this is the meta. As far as frontside defender and guarding ball, this is the meta right here. And they weren't builds that were even discovered. So I don't know, it's hard to give 2K brownie points and credit for this type of stuff when it was kind of hidden builds and they weren't even supposed to be in the game. Because for that matter, I don't think 6'6" lockdowns were really that elite. This build is just taller, it has better stats, it's just in general better. Same with this one especially. There were not good default 6'9", 6'10", 6'8". They were all really bad builds if you ask me, and there was no such thing as a good backside defender build in Pro-Am at the beginning of the year. That's how I see it, and this game came and this build right here came and just changed the game 100%. Alright, so now that we've talked about all the stuff from the heights to the build balancing just in general as to the lockdown versus point guard ratios and just talking about whether centers are good or not, let's talk about actual attribute ratings and the build system itself in this regard. So as you can see, we obviously have 4 different categories: shooting, playmaking, finishing, and defense. So defense and rebounding is categorized into like one category. And then we also have physicals as well, which is kind of just like 5th different category that doesn't factor in any badges or anything like that. Like you could literally minimize your physicals and it won't affect your badges at all. Now, what I did like about this year is that certain things are tied to each other. So let's go ahead and just take something down real quick so we can look at this. So as you can see, driving dunk, I'm hovering over it. Meanwhile, driving layup is orange. So let's say I drop my driving layup or something like that. As you can see, it's going to start pulling my driving dunk down with it so that people can't be too extreme in one aspect of something and not have the balance of something behind it. AKA, they can't have 99 driving dunk but have 25 driving layup and play all out for driving dunks. You have to have some balance to your build. Same goes with, let's say, close shot, for instance. If I drop my close shot too far, it's going to start dropping my mid-range down as well, and so on and so forth into three-pointer. Whereas the same way is the other thing as well, where if I try and take my three-pointer all the way up, it's going to force close shot up with it. It's going to force mid-range up a little bit as well. So it is cool that those things factor in, and I gotta say, it ranges very, very far. As you're gonna see, speed with ball factors into ball handle as well. You even have things like perimeter defense, which is tied into acceleration. For what reason, I have no idea, because acceleration doesn't play any factor on defense at all. But anyway, you get my deal. There's a lot of things interchanged and involved with each other. Vertical and rebounding are tied together. Vertical and driving dunk is tied together. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. Now, one thing I don't like about it, however, is that maybe, let's say I wanted to be someone that has 98 driving dunk. I think that me upgrading driving dunk to 98 should take away from other things of my build. It should make it so I can't be able to get three-pointer at a super elite level. And long story short, what I'm saying is, the higher my max goes for driving dunk, I think it should take my max down for three-pointer, and vice versa for a lot of different things. For instance, if you have elite defensive ability, I think just take a little bit away from your ball handling ability or three-pointer. Now, yes, you can make the case that wingspan already does this in a kind of hidden way, or a pretty obvious way. I don't know how you can have both those two things at the same time, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like, wingspan obviously is your one factor of this that will help you with driving dunk and defense and minimize your three-point shooting ability, but I think it should range deeper than that, to be honest with you. I think it should literally just be, if you upgrade something, it takes away from other things, and then you have your build that you can manually balance. So let's just consider it the customized pie charts thing that we had that idea of multiple years ago, where you could choose the percentage on your pie charts. I understand some people don't like the pie chart system, but I think it's a really cool aspect if you unleashed it a little bit, where let's say I wanted 50% of all my entire build into driving dunk and finishing ability. That means I can literally max out nearly everything for that matter. But me having 50% into finishing means I'm sacrificing extremely when it comes to these three things, because now 50% has to make up 4 different categories, or 3 different categories at the very least. So I know I'm probably losing a little bit of you guys when it comes to just the inferencing and just the future of 2K and talking about my ideas and stuff like that, because we're here to talk about 2K22 Next Gen, and I just wanted to maybe give an example as to why I don't like the build system a little bit, because again, I mean, this is a build system that allows for guards to have stuff like this, where we'll go ahead and just go over to small PG real quick. All right, so to make this point, we're going to use the 5'8" point guard. Now, this is ridiculous if you ask me. So I already mentioned earlier that you don't need a super high amount of driving dunk to get quick drops. So we can literally go to 65 and get quick drops off 1. Not to mention you can get the best animations possible out of it by having a silver limitless takeoff, which you only need 74 driving dunk for. So we're going up to like 75 right here. You have the most elite finishing that you can get in a budget sense for any build. Mind you, now you have the ability to get 99 three-pointer, you have the ability to get 99 ball handle, you have the ability to get 97 speed with ball, and you have the ability to get 99 steal. You can get 90-something perimeter defense as well with Hall of Fame clamps. And not to say that you can do all of this at the same time, because obviously you have to make some sacrifices in your build, but you can still have the ability to get nearly 99 speed, 99 acceleration, stamina, vertical as well. Not that you're ever going to touch that on a build like this, but as you can see, I mean, it's such a crazy concept that you could ever fathom that there's a build that could just literally get 99s in like 5 different categories. And it's such a stupid concept in the builder system. And if you ask me, it's what really made builds like this extremely overpowered in the early parts of this game. And not only that, but really in the early parts of this game, zigzagging and left-right cheese was so good that you really didn't even need this aspect of your build upgraded at all. So people were just coming out here with 25 driving dunk, 25 driving layup, and you were able to literally just dominate from the perimeter. And you didn't need to ever even touch the paint in the first place, because three-point hunting was so extremely good. So then you could just pretty much put your pass accuracy 85, because that's all you need for gold bullet pass, or maybe 86 for the extra badge point. And then, I mean, you're looking at an elite build, like in all facets. You're going to just maximize the stamina. At that point, you don't even need vertical either, so that just makes it even cheaper. And now here you go. You're looking at an extremely dominant build that everybody can achieve. It's so easy to get, and you can even upgrade like free throw on this too. Maybe some more mid-range as well, get your extra shooting badge. And now you're looking at a build that has 99 three-pointer, 99 ball handle, 97 speed of ball, perfect perimeter defense with Hall of Fame clamps, and 99 steal rating as well, 97 speed, 98 acceleration, 99 stamina. Like, what's wrong with this? It's such a great build. But I'll tell you what's wrong with it. There's no balance to it, because you don't need to have finishing on your build. You could just be an elite offensive guard, and people, whether they're trying to D up on your 3 or not and give you the drive, sometimes you're too fast as an offensive player for a defensive player to keep up, and it doesn't matter if they're running you off the 3-point line. You're just going to outrun them, and that's not a thing. It should not be a thing. And then again, people can tell you what they want as far as like saying this build won't work on defense, it can't hold people in the paint. Who cares? If you're playing 3v3, like a lot of people were in the early parts of this game, who cares if you can't hold people in the paint? You're going to be scoring threes and they're going to be scoring twos. And they have to work pretty hard to score their twos as well. Like, you're going to have to still get past this guy into the paint. You have to deal with the 99 steal in the passing lanes of Hall of Fame interceptor and just how dominant 99 steal is. And it's hard to get them the ball sometimes, especially if you're trying to hit them in the post, because then this guy can just front the post. And, you know, it's not like another thing that's really horrible with this game is that we have no control over the passing. You can't really like high pass, low pass. I mean, yes, you can bounce pass, but they took out the high pass mechanic. So you can't even throw over these small guards' heads. You're just going to throw it straight at the big man who's like posting up. And this guy, if he taps his X button in the right time, is just going to get it. You can't high pass people. It's just such a odd concept, bro, that they would ever take that out. But anyway, I know we're doing a lot of ranting on this video. I feel like overall though, the build system was solid. It was good for balancing, and at the end of the day, it fit a lot of people's liking to an extent. Now, ironically, I don't want to hate on this Myplayer builder system too much because I don't want to lead you guys the wrong way, but if there's anybody that this didn't fit, it was probably me, because to be honest with you, current gen would have fit someone like me a lot better, where you do have the pie charts. And I think the pie charts do fit someone like me really well, where if I want to be a role player yet a slasher at the same time, I could just make the blue-red pie chart like I did in previous years. I could still be a really good defender. I could be a great screen setter, nice role player for my point guard and stuff like that. And then I could still come out here, not upgrade my shooting, and then just upgrade my playmaking, finishing, and defense, and have fun as a slasher as well. You can't really do that this game, if you ask me. I think you really definitely have to have three-point shooting in your build, or you have to be a taller center. I think that this game definitely caters toward taller centers as well, and their physicals aren't as low as they probably should be. You have 7'3" centers with like 61 speed coming out here, or for that matter, 7'2" glitch metric builds with 75 vertical and like 65 speed and stuff like that too. And honestly, if you think about it, is that really that much slower than a default 6'9"? Default 6'9" was literally chilling at like 78 speed, 77 speed. So anyway, that is my video right there, talking about, was the build system good for NBA 2K22 Next Gen? Like I've said multiple times so far, I think it was good. It definitely just needs a couple tweaks. If they ever were to do something different into 2K23, I really do hope that they bring customizable pie charts back. That'd be so cool. I think it'd be so nice to deter from different parts of your build by being great at one of them. And you could choose what you want to be great at and what you want to be bad at as well. Now, don't get me wrong, it might lead to some bad balancing when it comes to smaller guards, just putting 50% into shooting and 50% into playmaking and 0 into finishing and defense. But at the end of the day, it's up to the game to balance that properly. It's the game and its developers' fault when it comes to gameplay itself as to not making it valuable to have driving dunk on your build. It should be a valuable thing, but when defense isn't good enough and you can't stop people who zigzag left and right super hard, and for that matter, you have circus threes fading now, it doesn't matter if they get run off the three-point line because people can't keep up with them. Now, if they could keep up with them, they'd have to resort to driving, and you'd have to be going into the paint when the defense forces you to go there. And they don't have to, though. But if they did have to, it would hurt so bad to not have driving dunk on their build. So anyway, that is my 2 cents on that. I believe that it's up to the game developers and the gameplay team to actually make it important to balance some of these attribute ratings. Make it important to have driving dunk. Make it important to have post control, standing dunk, driving layup. Likewise for mid-range shot as well, because if people are driving you off the three-point line, you definitely have to do what people do in the NBA. You have to shoot mid-ranges. I mean, you see CP3 come out here all the time and dominate in the mid-range because people are playing him up too high, or they're, he's able to just finesse the defense, crab people. He's literally the living experiment of crabbing in the NBA. It's such a funny thing because it's such a 2K term at this point to go for crabs, but it's so hilarious to see in the NBA as well. And then for the sake of driving layup, floaters as well. He does that as well, where he'll hit the crabs, and instead of, doing what 2K guys do and just hit him with the crab and then shoot a jump shot while they're literally stuck on his back, because nobody does that in real life, but definitely the floater aspect of it. Getting people stuck behind you and not letting them get any aspect of contest on you, and you know that they're not going to affect your shot. They can't block you either because they'd have to jump through your body and foul you from behind. And then at that point, you can control the big man in front of you. He can either have to step out way too far and leave the big man that he is down low on, or you can just throw the floater right over his head because he can't step out that far because he has to stay attached to the center for the lob or the entry pass down to the paint. So anyway, that is my 2 cents. I know a lot of ranting here, a lot of just ideas flying around. That's what I wanted this video to be, though. And I want to hear you guys' feedback as well on this video. I'm sure this one will get a lot of comments, but just let me know. Was the build system good? I want to hear your thoughts on that. And if it wasn't, I want to hear why. If it was, I want to also hear why. So anyway, made it to the end of the video. feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on noties, all that good stuff. Let's try to 1 to 500 likes. And if you did make it to the end, just go ahead and put end in the comments to show your support's made it all the way through. But again, feel free to leave any feedback attached to that comment or in a separate one as well, as far as whether you think the build system was good or not. But anyway, that's all for the video. Hope you all enjoyed. And on that, take it easy, man. Peace.